Greetings, y'all. Hey, today we got a special situation happening on Power of Ori, the podcast. Um, this is going to catch a bunch of people by surprise, but hey, this is what we call growth, and this is what we call Ori work. So we want to welcome Ifasewa Batuyan here to the Power of Ori podcast to talk about none other than some Ori work and how you can refine your own Ori to live your best life. All right. Welcome, Ifa Shewa.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Ashe, Ashe. So, backdrop, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Okay, so I grew up in New York and New Jersey, and then I moved to California, and now I'm living in Tanzania, Africa.
Mm,
Um, I was fully initiated in Ifa in 2006, and it has totally changed my life.
I bet. I bet. Um, what brought you to Ifa?
Um, Actually, dancing brought me to Ifa. I was learning Afro Cuban dance, and that's how I was introduced to everything, really, all in one space: Santeria, Lukumi, Condomble, and Ifa, because there was a comparison between the dances that happen in Cuba and the dances that happen in Nigeria. So that was my introduction to Ifa, and then I found a temple, and I just went on from there.
Mm. Was this in New York or LA?
This was in Los Angeles.
Mm, okay. Okay. So, within Ifa, and here's what we're talking about today. Um, within Ifa, there's something we do. Some people say every 4 days. Some people say every 5 days. Some people say every five days. But there is something that we do in Ifa called Ose Ifa. Ose Ifa. Um, that to me, I think gets overlooked a lot as far as the power of Ose Ifa and the ability of a person to take matters into their own hands or into their own ori, I
Mhm.
should say, to be able to get the messages, the signals, the warnings, the things that most people depend on their Babalao or Iya Nifa for because they got something going on and they got to call them to ask them questions. I feel like a lot of people don't really realize the power of Oshe Ifa that they have at their own house if they know how to work it. So let's talk about this and lay the foundation of this. First and foremost, let's talk about what is Oshe Ifa.
Oseifa is a way to help people develop their relationship with Arumila, Eshu, and really whichever Orisha or ancestor they choose. However, specifically Osei Ifa is about building that relationship with Arumila and Eshu so you can enhance your life, so you can rely on Ifa, so you can have an opportunity to be in that stillness, that gap. Um, and that gap is, well, what I call a gap, GAP, that guidance, that awareness and protection of yourself. And you're casting literally with your own hands to find out how to go about that.
Mm. So let's see. Does O'Shea Ifa have any powers? When I say powers, I mean like um, abilities to inform stuff like that. The same things that people seek out in a Dafa. Do you feel like O'Shea Ifa has the same abilities or equal to for a person to be able to receive the answers that they're looking for?
I don't think it's equal to. However, I do think it is very powerful. I think DAFA is different because now someone else or a community has come together for you to help bring about answers. It's just not you, just you. However, in Ose Ifa, it's very powerful because it's so personal. You are finding out your character traits, the decisions that you've made, the choices that you have, all of those different types of things. And that's what makes it so powerful. We get to see what we're accountable for.
So, what would be the biggest difference between the two then, to you?
I think one is more communal because it has a community come together. And it's not that Ose Ifa doesn't have that aspect of it. However, you're speaking with your Ifa, you're speaking directly to what you are building a relationship with. And a dafa is a little bit different because usually there's quite a few babalaos or iyanifas that are around that everybody is giving you information about an odu that you cast. And some people say they cast an odu on Ose Ifa. However, on Ose Ifa, people normally cast signatures like Alafia, Ejiogbe, Etawa, those types of things. So that is the biggest difference. Adafa gives you a deeper story from a more amount of people. But
Mm,
when you are personally dealing with Ifa, you really you can't hold any secrets. There's no secrets. You have to answer when Ifa says, "This is what's going on," correct? And then you
mm-hmm,
got to answer.
mm-hmm,
This is what you need to work on, correct? Your friends may not know it, but we know it.
mm-hmm,
So it's very personal and helps you in your development in a different way.
mm. I tend to call O'Shea Ifa my personal Dafa. That's how I look at it. Like, yes, it doesn't come with the old dues and all that stuff, but particularly if you already have an old dude, meaning you've been
Hmm.
initiated, O'Shea Ifa is technically helping you to work that old dude, right? So they're
Yes.
really usually the answer to me is within the old dude you already have. Now, for those who don't have an old dude, God bless your heart. But if you have an old dude, you've been initiated. To me, O'Shea Ifa is like a Dafa because the first thing we must address is again what's in the ori of the person, and O'Shea Ifa is good at revealing that if you know how to work it correctly, right? Like you can't just ask basic questions like yes or no questions like that's and yes or no questions are kind of a vague concept. But what I mean by yes or no questions like um, should I should I go here? Should I do this? That's not character traits. When you get in the Itawas of the world, or when you're getting the Okanarans of the world,
Hmm.
to a degree, even the Ajifes of the world, um, the question is why,
Hmm.
right?
And I agree with that because Ose Ifa doesn't show you just what to give; it's showing you how to be.
Hmm. Now, let's talk about O'Shea Fire real quick. We
Hmm.
know there's your staples and all of that. Um, cola, bitter cola, gin. Apple, Omitutu. All right, staples. But when you're trying to find out those answers, do you stick strictly with the cola nut for your answer, or do you go a poele or stuff like that? How does that work for you?
Well, being here in Tanzania, Africa, sometimes I do have to use my upwele because Obi and Orogbo are not in East Africa, not here in Tanzania. So sometimes I don't have it. So sometimes I do have to use my upwele.
Mm,
And however, with or without giving Obi and Orogbo, I think one of the missing pieces is that people don't know why they're giving the item that
mm,
they're giving. They don't know if it's for long life. They don't know if it's for prosperity. They don't know if it's for better communication. They don't know if it's for mindfulness. They don't know why they're giving what they're giving.
mm-hmm,
So I think even though Ose Ifa is a tool for us to be able to utilize in order for us to balance ourselves internally and know what's really happening in our Ori, I think at times we can use different tools whenever needed. But of course, the two biggest is the Orogbo and the Obi.
mm. Okay. Is O'Shea Ifa? This is a sidebar question. I'm just curious. Is O'Shea Ifa to you like, because there's no Ori Day, but I think Ori Day kind of goes with each of the days. Period. But to me, O'Shea Ifa is like should be in conjunction with Ifa Day because it takes the Ori to be giving uh be giving authority to say, hey, I'm here too. I'm here seeking help. I'm here seeking guidance. Um, because Ori again, let's keep it real. Ori gets put in the back burner a lot in a lot of these particular rituals that we partake in. People tend to
Mhm.
forget. That's why I named it the power of O'Shea Five. But this podcast is Power of Ori podcast. But at the same time, the connectivity of the two is the thing we need to get to. It's not just the answers. It's not just um, a Jife or a Lafia and dancing. Like it's not just that. It's to me, it's about how does this apply in my Ori? How do I make this work within my mind? How do I get my mind to be able to accept what I'm being told here? But more importantly, especially again, if you've been initiated, accept what's being told to me in this so do. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, I agree because in Oseifa, it makes us accountable for our behavior. It makes us accountable for our decisions from all the choices that we've been handed. And I think that, like Ori is every day, every moment, every second,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have to use our head, our Ori. However, with Osei Ifa, it brings our story that we tell ourselves to the forefront and helps us be accountable for what is. You know, we can't play around because when you cast, Ifa is going to say, "You lying." Stop lying
Mm-hmm.
to yourself. You know, tell the truth so I can get you to a more enhanced way of living.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very personal, Ose Ifa. And I think that sometimes people are more concerned about what to give as a offering than the changes they need to make in order to enhance their lives. Because some people, I think, go into Ose Ifa trying to convince Ifa, oh, that's not going to work. That's not
Mm-hmm.
going to work. You know, so it's not about us um, convincing Ifa. It's about us accepting how we are handling our Ori.
Let's do this. foundationally again, let's define Ose Ifa. What does Ose mean in the Ifa?
Ose Ifa technically means Ifa week, but we say Ifa day. It's the day of coming to Ifa to have a moment of reflection.
Mm, Ose. Now, for those who like to do it their way, there's a lot of those, right? They feel that they can do it their way just because they feel that way. My question is this, because I actually experienced it. I'll give you an example after I ask you this. But what are the consequences of not keeping up with your O'Shea file? Are there consequences, things that you may have to pay for because you keep missing them, you're not feeding it? What are those things? Do you feel like there are? If so, what are they?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's consequences. If Ifa tells me to be patient and I still am impatient, oh, I'm going to pay the penalty for that. Because not only did a divine energy take its time to tell me, be patient for the next week, it's like just throwing it back in its face and saying, oh no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And when you're doing Oseifa, it's not just about what you want to do, it's about what your destiny is expecting of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's consequences 100% when we don't pay attention. I know I've done that quite a few times.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Now, what about consequences for not doing O'Shea Fi at all? Like just skipping that day? Like, do you think that there's consequences for not doing it at all?
I think sometimes, but I think it depends on what is actually happening at that time. Is the person sick? Has the person fell into a depression? What is actually going on at that time? I think we're supposed to do Osei Ifa as much as possible because there's a blessing in that, a major blessing that is crafted specifically for you. However, I think that there are just going to be times in reality that it's not going to happen. Sometimes people are in school or have children or things like, and sometimes it's just not going to happen. And that's why it's important not to just only do sometimes Oseifa just by yourself, that you do Oseifa with other people like your family as well, because maybe you can get some insight even that way. But yeah, I think there are some consequences, but I think it also depends on the situation.
But if you can get to some cola nuts and some apple and everything, you should be
Do
getting your
it.
butt met, right?
You need to get your butt up early in the morning and do it, and to just think about how small that time is that you're spending with Ifa to do Ose Ifa in comparison to how much Ifa protects you every moment of your life.
Mm. Question: when I first, even after I got initiated, I was shown bits and pieces of O'Shea, but not the full extent. Why do you think that people, Aluos, Babalaos, Ianifas, whoever else in the chain of command, doesn't um, make sure that the people that are particularly, even if they got a hand of Ifa or initiation, why is it not pushed to master that concept and that ritual of O'Shea Ifa? It's not really explained clearly to a lot of people. Like, why do you think that is? Because that is a protection layer for them on a weekly basis. So why would they not be giving them that full information so that they can utilize what they have in their house and those kings and their pots and their issue? Like, why would they not? Why do you think they do? They don't push the O'Shea Ifa concept to be taught thoroughly, just the basics. But I'm talking about thoroughly. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there are different things that happened. I think a lot of it that a lot of that information was lost during enslavement. I think also that other ways of life were in the forefront more than Isheshe. So they had another way that they had to format in order to even try an Ose Ifa, because they didn't have the items, they didn't have all of the information and things like that. So I think that's one of the reasons. I think some people just don't know. I think that depending upon what your practice is, some people just don't know. They weren't taught. I think also that there are so many ways to do Ose Ifa, depending upon the region or the house or things like that. So I don't think that there's not a way that they can find out nowadays. But I think in the past, I just don't think there were enough people that knew about it and actually taught other people. Because even as a woman, back in the day, there were a lot of women that just were not even receiving a full one hand of Ifa. They were receiving one palm nut and I don't know, a chicken head inside of a bowl. But
Mm.
so they didn't, so it was obvious that those people did not know how to give like maybe 16 Ekeen or 21 Ekeen and teach them how to do that, which was, it was going to happen. It was going to, there was no way that that type of information and that detail of an enhancement in someone's life was just going to come over with enslavement. That it, there was going to be a gap.
Mm. You said a few things that was pretty interesting just now. I wanted to get some clarity on. Number one was if they don't know. You said they didn't know how to do it. Basically, I'm guessing that you're saying, right? So they couldn't give it to people correctly, right? But here's the
Right.
thing: they they're initiating people. That
Hmm.
brings a whole big question. If you don't know how to do O'Shea Ifa, that makes me question the whole initiation. Does that make sense?
Well, they're initiating in a way that they know how. They're not initiating in a way of Isheshe. There's a lot of even orishas that are given to people that are given completely differently than in Isheshe. The items that are even inside, the orisha itself looks different inside of the pots. So I
Hmm.
think that gap of information, what just, I mean, just slapped everything. And they came up with whatever they could come up with in order to practice something until I guess we can get back to where we are now, which is knowing how to do Ose Ifa through Isheshe.
So does since these people, whoever it is that's initiating people, but do not know how to technically teach them how to maintain their implements, O'Shea wise, does this hurt the person being initiated down the road because they're getting kind of half cocked information to me? So does this how does this affect that person to you? That I know you've been in this a while, so you've talked to many people, taught many classes, all that. So how does that affect the initiate down the road?
I think it can hinder the person from learning about themselves
Mm,
and building that personal relationship with Ifa. Because the reason why we're doing Ose Ifa is to have a solid foundation and relationship with a Rumila or a relationship with Ifa. So I think sometimes the person can become less developed within themselves and more codependent upon someone else in
mm,
what they're practicing. Um, However, most of the people that I know in due time, they either get a full one hand Ifa or they get fully initiated in Ifa and they will learn it at that time, right? And some of them get frustrated. Oh, they didn't teach me this. And, they get angry. And I go, hold on. Did anybody in your house learn it? No. Well, then they didn't, most likely, they didn't even know it. So you chose someone that didn't know how to do this. So now you can't blame them because they didn't know. Now you make a different choice, a new choice, and you go where you can learn that, and start your development. It's never too late to start development in IFA.
Mm. A big thing you said was if they taught people O'Shea Ifa, they would lose money.
Hmm.
How does that look to you?
Yes.
Like, how does that affect their bottom line if they taught their students or initiates or godchildren the realness of O'Shea Ifa? How does that work?
I think the person will be spending more time with themselves and not running every minute to their godparents. Um, I think they would find out details about themselves maybe they just didn't think about. Because if, the reason why we're doing also Oseifa is to get to the depths of our character traits. Why do we
Mm-hmm.
behave the way we behave? What story are we telling ourselves? And what story are we telling somebody else? What is that mask that people are wearing? And so in Oseifa, you have to remove that mask if you really want to get to the root of why you're doing what you're doing. Also, Oseifa is in Isheshe. So that means everybody would have the ability to be able to get fully initiated in Ifa, be it if you're a man or a woman. That concept of not being fully initiated as a woman, that would be thrown out of the door because you already are starting off with having the foundation, which is the Ikin. That tool is so important. It is, if you don't get anything else, if you have your Ikin, you're set. So I think they would lose money because they're going to be learning about their impatience, their anger, their jealousy, and other things like that, or their bitterness or resentment that is within them, or learning more about their blessings, their happiness, and their peace. And that they don't have to pay a whole bunch of money to find out what that is. They're giving something that's a non-blood offering. They're giving a small offering because the bigger sacrifice is in their character. So now they're appeasing themselves and learning more of what's actually going on in their Ori more than trying to appease somebody else or appease a household or those types of things. So I think that's how they will lose money because you don't need a lot of money to practice Ose Ifa. There's other ways to be able to practice it.
Cuts back on elbows.
I'm sorry.
Does it cut back on elbows?
It does cut back on EBOs. It can cut back on major offerings that people are making. Like I was saying, like the biggest offering in Oseifa is your character, to make sure you're living your best life, making sure you're showing up elevated and empowered and things like that. But the way that Oseifa is doing that is getting to the root of something that may be held back, like forgiveness or surrendering or those types of things. So it's not just about giving something to an Orisha, giving something to an ancestors. Those things live within you. How are you treating your own head? What are you saying to yourself when nobody else is around? That's what Osei Ifa is getting to the root of.
Mm. I'm glad you said that because I want to get into this last question, which is what role does Ori play in this whole process? How does Ori fit literally into the context of O'Shea Ifa when receiving the messages? Um, what is his role in this process? Like, what role does it play in the O'Shea Ifa process?
Ori plays it. Ori is huge in every single thing that we do. But in Osei Ifa, It strips the layers that someone may have, like difficulties or traumas or issues or things like that, or conditions that we've created to keep the mask on. So Ose Ifa is a mental and emotional way of uh, expressing itself through divination. It is so mental. There's no way that you can do Ose Ifa and just give an offering and then that be it. You hold your akeem, put some honey on it, and you done. Put some gin and palm oil or whatever you're doing, and then that's it. No, there are specific questions that need to be asked, and that is going to get into the depths of what is going on in your head, in your heart, in what you do every day. So Ose Ifa just gets to the root of how we are living our lives and if we're living it authentically. And all of that is stored in our head, initiated, not initiated. I know people that do Ose Ifa and they don't even have one hand of Ifa. And yet every 5 days they're there and they're finding out more information about themselves so they can live a better life by getting rid of the mess that has been created in their heads so they can live a more fulfilled life and live their destiny.
Interesting, because I was going to ask you that too. I'm gonna ask the question in an inquisitive manner. Is it possible that someone who doesn't have a hand of Ifa or um, full initiation to be able to do Oshe Ifa um, every 5 days on their own without the implements?
Yes, as long as they're trained. One of the biggest things in Ose Ifa is that a lot of people aren't trained. They're not trained how to do it correctly to where they're enhancing their lives, where they're
Mm,
enhancing other people's lives.
mm,
So if someone is trained correctly, then yes. Because let's just think about this. I just want to give this example. Let's just say somebody has Ose Ifa, they have just one hand of Ifa, um, and then they lose everything. This is the blessing with Ifa and Ose Ifa. All you need is you, because your Ori is going to show up every day. Orishas, ancestors, other things like that, they may not show up every day, but your Ori is going to show up every day. So as long as you have your Ori and you can think, then you can cast Ifa. You can do Ose Ifa.
Um, Going back to the consequences real quick, I told you I would tell you how it affected me a little bit, but not doing Oshe Ifa has particularly, like we said previously, if you have access and can get to them, to the stuff you need to do it, I would suggest you do it, because one thing Oshe Ifa does is provide a layer of protection for you for that. So as you are offering these items to Eshu and Ifa and they're accepted, it provides a layer of protection for you
Ashe.
for that week. Um, Example, I had missed 2 weeks of it not too long ago, and I just began to feel weird. I do it religiously, but I missed 2 weeks, and I just began to feel weird. I began to feel like emotionally something was wrong. Like I just couldn't get my head was in a fog. And then one night I went to E5 and I asked, "Am I feeling like this because I haven't done O'Shea E5?" It's like, yeah. And then I did the O'Shea E5 and it came out that I needed a dot five. And by the time I did the dot five, I got the information that yeah, there was some negative energy being sent your way, and you put your shield down, bro. that
Mm-hmm.
that energy penetrated because you hadn't been doing the Ose Ifa. Um, there was a reason why I didn't do it, but still, spirit knows black or white. Gray areas are kind of like rare, if at all. So you just gotta
Right.
make sure you're getting it done despite all odds the best way you can. Um, that's my firm recommendation of it. O'Shea Ifa, like I said, I learned when I first got initiated, but I didn't learn it the way you uh, inevitably told me or showed me how it rose. Um, and I've kind of taken it to a different level with it. You know, me, I add my little crossover spin, dunk move to everything I do, but I added a little bit more to it. But at the end of the day, for me, it's become like a full blown reading, like without the
Hmm.
blood, without all that stuff. Because there's a way, if you want to know that, sometimes you just don't need to know everything. But if you want to know, um, if there's real serious issues going on, remember Dafa
Hmm.
and Elbow is the last resort. That's not supposed to be the first option, right? The first option is supposed to be your Ori, and one way of doing that is O'Shea 5, right? Like you can
Yes.
communicate with the Rumula and talk it out and get the messages, and then sit with yourself and go to the roots of why these messages are coming, and then you can probably start fixing it yourself. Now, if it's a huge thing, that's particularly if it's an external issue that involves somebody else or it involves a business that involves other people, then that's a whole nother situation. But for the most part, if you learn O'Shea Ifa and you get your Ori in the mindset of letting down the guards, letting down your insecurities, letting down your shield, and just accepting it and submitting to the information and following it, preferably to a T, but we are human, but following it to the best of your ability,
Hmm.
yes, this becomes a full blown reading, protection layer, and your direct connection, divine direct connection with Orumila, Ifa, the system we call Ifa, so that you can continue to get your protection and your messages on a weekly, 5 days basis.
I agree. I agree. It's a time to also be able to just be still,
Mhm.
just slow down, just take a breath, and just sit with Ifa, to sit with Eshu, to sit with, and once you learn Ose Ifa, you learn how to be able to cast for all the other ones. But of course, right, starting with Arumila, starting with Eshu, start small, small. But those are the top two, right?
Mhm.
So just learning that it helps you slow down in life and really be able to see, how am I participating in my life?
Mhm.
What am I really doing here? So it's like, I mean, growing up in New York, it just really just slows everything down, and then it just really sets a beautiful pace to where you can become more aware and mindful of everything you're doing, saying, seeing, listening to, all of that. And like you said, it's like a mini dafa. And you can even in Ose Ifa, it could even cleanse you.
Mhm.
It can literally have you cleanse yourself, give it to Ifa, and then you start anew. So to even have that opportunity to be able to do that with your own hands is amazing.
Mhm. You said something that is it's not a blood offering, um, but is it possible to offer blood in your O'Shea Ifa? Like,
Yes,
could it call for a chicken or something at a
it
time?
could. Yes. Yes, it could. It's not, I mean, it's so rare that I hear anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
usually that's when the person ends up in the hands of the Babalao or Ianifa, when it goes that far. Or they'll and be told to do a dafa, get a dafa done. But yes, it can. Some people I have seen do Ose Ifa, and they 100%, they do it with either a rooster or a hen or something. And a lot of times that person is already fully initiated in Ifa. They know what's kind of going on in their life. And they're like, oh, this is what I need to do. But it's rare.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
it's
see,
funny, right? Because in one of the Odus, it's saying that Arumila becomes fully awake and there is no animal sacrifice at all.
exactly.
It's just Obi, Orogbo, OT, Epo, things like that, Atare,
Mhm. Yeah.
So it doesn't have anything to do with the blood sacrifice. I think over time, people even became more engaged in giving blood unnecessarily. When Ifa is really asking for things that are non-blood, on a more frequent basis, so I really don't know how it turned into a bloodbath, but it shouldn't have. It definitely shouldn't have.
Yeah, it is a bloodbath out here. These people are in love with blood right now. And
Hmm.
when you tell them that you do O'Shea Fire and you don't have to do all this blood stuff, they be like, "What? Really?
Right,
What?
right.
Yeah, bro. Like this." I say this all the time. I go by the Odu. I don't go by people no more. I don't. I
Hmm.
don't really. I don't really. Unless you can tell me what the Odu is to that and why that's necessary, then why am I listening to you? Like
Right.
I'm not doing it. So because it's so many lies, and when you get to the root of it, like where do you get that from? Someone told me this. Well, what is the Odu? I have no idea. Really,
Hmm.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
But why is Odu important? See, that's what we all in this for, ain't we? Ain't
Right,
this the
right.
whole
And I
thing?
think that's
Huh?
right. Exact. And that's why I think people need to know why they're giving the items that they're giving on Oseifa, and that it
Mm,
covers the main uh, things everybody seeks in life.
mhm,
Your health and prosperity. Done. It's simplified in Ose Ifa. And I think that's something else that helps so many people when they do Ose Ifa, is because they're working with their Ori, and it
mhm,
brings about simplicity. You don't have to do so much. Just work on your character, work on your goals and the system that you have put in place to accomplish your goals, things like that. Let's get out of all those decorations and doing this and doing that, and show the beauty of our character
mm,
more than anything.
mm. Really, the last question. How sound like Farrakhan, huh? It's almost over, y'all. I'm just playing. But um, how important to you has the implementation of meditation been for you when doing O'Shea Five? Because a lot of people go to O'Shea Five despite how they feel, what they went through today, or in the last 5 minutes. They could have had an argument with their spouse and say it's still O'Shea Five. They're gonna do O'Shea Five and take all that to the mat. Um, how important to you is meditation
Hmm.
uh, doing O'Shea Five?
um, it's very important. I sit before I even start, and then I sit after.
Mm,
When you're doing Osei Ifa, that is a meditation in motion. Some people think meditation is just sitting still and just no. There's walking meditation, there's different types of meditation. And when I do Osei Ifa, it is 100% a meditation, moving. It's flowing, and it's helping me get into my alignment, get into my flow. So it's very important. And that's why I said it slows you down and it makes you still.
mm. Yes, before and after.
Yes.
Before is the setup, and after is settling in the messages you receive. Um, because meditation is basically your chance to silence your mind and really hear. When you silence your mind and you just try to be silent and not think of anything, you then begin to see what's in your ori.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a difficult process at times to just sit there and be silent because your brain is so wired to just keep going and keep thinking of stuff or coming up with thoughts about this, that. But you begin to be able to see. When you try to silence your mind and things you can't stop from coming, hmm, that lets you know
Mm-hmm.
what's in your ori. Um, the things that come to your mind in your silent moments. Now, if you take those things, if you don't do meditation and you just go to O'Shea or go to Ifa for anything like that, you're taking all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff without trying to silence it before you got there. Yeah. And then afterwards, you definitely need to sit with it and let your mind process it. Don't just get right up from it and just going back about your merry day. Just kind of sit with it for a minute or so and just let it marinate for a second. And then technically, I write everything down now. I have a whole books.
Mm-hmm.
Like I keep notes of what I have received, so I can go back and revisit them and see what the patterns were and kind of get things out of it. That way, I can kind of continue see where my RE is growing, where I'm stagnant at, what I need to work on, and stuff like that, and continually moving on. Um, but yes, meditation helps with that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Before you get into that, yeah, this is awesome.
Yes.
Um, this is awesome.
Definitely.
This is awesome. O'Shea Ifa is a big part of what we do. The Ori, as you said, goes with us everywhere, does not leave. It is the one deity that will never vacate the situation, the premises. Um, so learning this is mandatory. I'm gonna say that out
Mm-hmm.
loud. Learning this from a competent person who can teach you about what it
Mm-hmm.
is mandatory. All right. You got to get beyond the yes or no answers and think you got it. No, like there's layers to this, and you can literally make it like your personal dafa. It's okay. Your Babala or Ifa, like we said, may get mad because you ain't coming to them for elbows every other week no more. That may be a problem for some people, but again, this Ori thing and Ifa thing is a individual sport first. You must have you corrected first before you can help any other community. So you have to master who you are. And Oshe Ifa is a good practice field for Ori.
I
That's it.
agree. It shows you your uniqueness.
Yes. Yes. Do you have any closing remarks you want to close with about Ori and Oshe Ifa tidbits about this subject matter?
Um, I really do hope that more people learn how to do Ose Ifa because I think it will bring an alignment with their head and their heart.
Mhm.
I think it will help them have more simplicity in their life. It will help them, for those that are not initiated, help them um, go towards initiation more smoothly. I think they will also be able to help their godparents or their teachers because now they will know more about themselves and how they can help others. And I think also it is Oseifa is a way to just pour love upon yourself.
Okay.
So I think that as more people learn Osei Ifa, the more happier, the more peaceful they will be, and they will have more love for themselves and other people.
I check. Thank you, Ia. How do the people find you if they want to contact you?
Well, they can go to my Facebook page, Ifasewa Fatoying, or they can also go to my YouTube page, Ifasewa Fatoying. I do Ifa classes on Sundays at 11 a.m. East Coast time. It's called Ifa 101. Um, However, I'm also moving quite a bit of the information onto YouTube because I'm noticing more people they're just so tired of Facebook that they are looking more at YouTube. So I'm putting more of the information there as well. So then people have an option. Um, and that's the best way to be able to contact me is through either Messenger or they can contact me through WhatsApp. The number that they can use is 323-362-7959, and they can contact me that way as well. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Thank you for joining me, y'all. This has been another episode of Power of Ori podcast. Again, I am Baba Makanjuola of powerofori.com. Uh, if you need any more information from us regarding Ori work and Ose Ifa work, hey, I just said it, powerofori.com. Go there, um, become a site member, subscribe to the site. We meet every Sunday morning, also conflicting times though, yeah, but 11 a.m. Um,
Oh
right,
no.
conflicting times, but hey, you got to choose one that day, okay? Anyway,
I know, because either way, you're going to hear about Ori. You're good.
exactly, yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, we have classes and stuff there too. Courses. It's about 30 hours of information now. So if you ever need some more information on Ori and connecting it with Ifa, I mean Oshe Ifa, please go there, or you can contact Iya too. We both began this thing here together, but Iya has branched off and went to a whole nother continent and doing things with among the giraffes and the alligators and crocodiles and monkeys. So,
Yes.
so I'm still here stuck in the states dealing with racism. I'm just playing, but um, we still are we are both very heavy in our rework, um,
Yes.
connectivity and inclusivity of or rework with Ifa practices in order to better each person. Um, I'm a very big component. I'm sure she is too. A very big component of or rework being implemented in everything we do in this process. It is beyond just an offering, y'all. It's beyond leaving some watermelon at the lake, y'all. It is about you being able to master the messages, but first being trained by a competent person that can teach you how to master those lessons while still giving your offerings. Okay, so you can come to myself, you can come to Ifasewa. That's who I trust the most, besides a few other people. I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Akbola, which was great. It was awesome.
Oh, it was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, um, he's another one. But there's a few people that I trust that I would say, hey, if you want to get information, I don't care where you get it from, just get it because you're
Mhm.
going to need it as you move forward in this practice we call IFA. Again, thanks,
Yes.
Ia. Thanks everybody for
Thank
watching. I am Baba
you.
Jula. Y'all know where to reach us all. We already said it, not gonna say it twice. I shizzle, I shay. Have an E-Ray day, everybody. Greetings, everybody. I am Baba Makanjuola, or Baba Ola for short, of PowerOfOri.com. And I'm here today talking about our all new, totally all new Ose Ifa Master's Course. It's an 8-day course. We've stretched it out and we've added a lot of stuff, power packed it with a lot of stuff in there. We think you're truly going to dig it and get a lot from it. Who is this for? Anyone who's in Ifa, of course, or seeking to understand Ifa. This is for you. If you have been in Ifa for years now, you've been trained in Ose Ifa, you can still add more to your tool belt. This is for you too. If you're newly initiated, and you want to get more information of how to keep up
with your Ose Ifas and how to keep up with feeding the deities of Ifa and Eshu, this is for you. If you're brand new and you've never had any training, you're just looking to get some understanding, this is still for you. We have 2 different tracks we're going to be on, so there's no excuses. You can go in the evening, you can go on the weekend, you can go on a weekday. We have it wide open for you this time. So please, if you're interested, get registered now.